Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Bloomberg Businessweek podcast. Listen live each weekday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app. You can also listen live on Amazon Alexa from our flagship New York station. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
Well, yesterday's CPI numbers showed us that inflation is still an issue in many categories, including food and beverage. Food and beverage was up 2.4% year over year. It rose 0.3% from the previous month. Eggs, Carol.
We talked about it.
Up you see the Waffle House, the 50-cent egg surcharge as a result of the difficulty in procuring eggs. How are you still have some at your...
I still have some eggs in the fridge.
Okay.
I want to ask what Jon Taffer has to say about kind of the environment, whether it's the cost of food and everything, which all goes into running certainly restaurants and bars, certainly if they're serving food. Jon Taffer is back with us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio. As you know, he is the author of several books, including The Power of Conflict, Speak Your Mind, Get the Results You Want. He's also the EP of Bar Rescue, which is now in its what season?
10th season, 15th year.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Paramount Network.
Welcome back. I mean, listen, when you started this, did you anticipate at all that this was going to go this long?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
And we had what we called escalating costs. Now we have creeping costs. So it's a little slower. But, the restaurant business is such that food costs can't really exceed 30%, 33%. So for every dollar that my costs go up, I have to raise it $3 to the consumer.
Wow.
Now, there's only a certain amount of elasticity in that.
Right.
So let's say my hamburger prices go up $3. I got to increase them by $9. Now, the consumer's not going to accept that $9. So maybe I can push it to $3 or $4.
Right.
So I can recover half of the inflationary impact on my business. But in many cases, I can't recover all of it. So that's where it's eroding on our operating costs.
So what do you do, John? Do you make the burger smaller?
Well, you have a couple of choices. You can make the burger smaller. That's one choice. Or you can raise your prices, or you can try to redesign your menu. So for example, and this is interesting, psychological pricing and eye tracking with laser movement tells me that if I box an item on a menu, sales of that item will go up by 20%.
Unbelievable.
If I shadow or chef special, it goes up by about 14%. People have a 6% propensity to order the bottom two items on a list. So what I'll do is I'll take my most profitable item in dollars and cents, not percentage.
Yeah.
I'll box that. Take my second most, shadow it. Third and fourth, put them on the list properly. I won't price anything other than 95 cents. There's no such thing as $8.25, $8.50, $8.75. It's $8.95. When I need to raise my price, it goes to $9.95. Psychological pricing. If you price at $8.50, you're leaving 45 cents on the table every time. It means nothing at that point.
Right.
So understanding these elements, I want to move you through boxing. I'm going to move you to different menu items.
Wow.
So, for example, Waffle House is infusing a 50. I would also run a
50-cent surcharge on eggs. Right? Yeah.
I would run a special on waffles because that doesn't use eggs.
Right.
So I'm telling my friends in the breakfast business, run pancake specials.
Right.
Run corned beef hash specials. Right. Do everything you can to move the consumer away from the eggs consumption, you can do that.
You didn't mention automation, which you see the chains doing a lot right now. Are mom and pop shops able to use automation?
Well, a lot of them are a little intimidated by it, tell you the truth, just like they're intimidated by sophisticated accounting systems and so. My research tells me that about 70% of the independent operators don't even have monthly P&Ls. So we're asking them to look at a capital investment or a long-term lease program, to buy technology, a little intimidating for them. So I find that they're not as eager to move into it. And interestingly, if you go to the restaurant convention, the National Restaurant Association, 5 years ago, there were maybe 2 robotic booths. Now there's probably close to 100 robotic booths. Everything from French fry robots to hamburger flipping robots to everything you can possibly imagine.
But mom and pops aren't doing that yet.
Not yet, but they're going to have to at some point.
Chipotle folks, and the Chipotle's got, they've got the avocado, which helps with peeling and coring avocados and frees people up to do other things. But we're not seeing that yet for mom and pop.
I think McDonald's is one of the leaders in it, in some of the robotic French fry equipment and such. But certainly, it costs a lot less. It doesn't get sick, and it's the future of our industry. And look, we're struggling with labor, as you know, still. And we think that the no tax on tips might really make a difference for us as an industry. Really, really could solve that problem.
You think
for
it
us.
happens?
Oh, we think it's going to happen. Yeah, I believe it's going to happen.
Why do you think it's a good idea? Because I think for those of us who pay taxes on all of our income are wondering, well, wait a minute, how is that fair? And I guess the other side is that let's pay those workers a living wage. And so it's not, because I feel like increasingly we're tipping everybody.
Also, who declares their tips?
Well, I don't like it when I go into a coffee a store, and I'm asked to tip the Batista. I mean, it's a little out of line sometimes. I went to a dry cleaner the other day, and I went in to pick up my dry cleaning, and it asked me if I wanted to tip the dry cleaning. It was so it's a little outrageous now.
It's gotten out of control.
That's what I'm saying. So, but you think within the hotel or the restaurant industry?
Let me tell you why. Because they get an employee tip credit. So in many states they don't make minimum wage. They make $2 and $3 an hour.
No, I know.
So by not tipping them by not taxing them on their tips, we're giving them a chance at that living wage. It's really important.
Why don't we make the institution, the restaurant, pay them that living wage? Why don't we do it there?
Well, we could do it there, but that's going to increase costs. So if we look at inflation and those costs, here's the problem in the restaurant industry. It's an industry that we manage by percentage. Mm-hmm. Occupancy costs cannot exceed 12% of revenue every month or every year. It just cannot.
Okay.
Labor costs cannot exceed 30%. I'm up to 45% already.
Yeah.
Food costs can't exceed 30%. I'm up to 75% now. I have my A&G, my insurance, my utilities, all my other costs. I have waste and supplies. By the time I move that up, guys, I'm at 12-15% margins. That's all I got.
But what if we didn't have tips? And I know, who was it that tried to do it here?
Was it Danny Meyer?
Was it Danny
I
Meyer?
don't remember who it was.
No tips. Do you not think we would think, okay, I'm paying more because I'm not tipping? That would make it even it out, and then people...
Possibly, but there's some fear in that as an operator.
Okay.
I have to educate the customer, and I must tell you, anytime somebody tells me I'm going to start a business and educate the consumer, they tend not to be very successful at it.
That's fair.
Hey,
it's tight margins. Also, I got to share with you that the restaurant industry is the largest non-government employer in America. And when the restaurant industry hurts, America hurts.
Right.
There's a lot of consumers work for us. So keeping that industry healthy as our largest consumer is very, very important. And I look at the buyouts that car companies have gotten and other industries have gotten. The restaurant industry hasn't gotten that. So I think providing this relief makes sense for that industry. And of course, I'm an advocate for it, but I do.
Hey, John, you mentioned the no tax on tips as one of the policies forthcoming from this administration. How are you looking at other policies in terms of growth, in terms of helping the restaurant industry, in terms of potentially hurting the restaurant industry if prices go up as a result of tariffs and people have less disposable income? How are you looking at what's coming out of Washington?
I've done a lot of work on tariffs. I've read a lot of white papers, and I've really tried to do my homework on it. And it's tough to come down with a hard position on knowing how it's really going to have an impact. I look at it this way. A German car company is charging us 10% tariff to bring our cars there. We're charging 2.5%. Let's say we bump that 2.5% to 10%. So now the German car comes into America at a base cost point, in theory, 10% higher than their American competitor. Mm-hmm. They can't compete that way.
Right.
So they're going to have to make adjustments in distribution and operating costs in some way to be competitive again. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to accept that every tariff, that 10 points, is going to make it to our pockets. I think there's competitive influences and a whole bunch of factors that play a part. Yeah. And then look at BMW. They built a factory in America. Look at Toyota. They built a factory in America. So I think that we have to look at this as a longer play.
But look at Ford and GM. They build cars in Canada and Mexico, and then they'll get hit with tariffs when they bring those cars in. And when the car components cross the border multiple times as a result of the manufacturing process. Yeah. It's very complicated. I would say, who was controlling our government when we allowed Ford Motor Company to start building plants in Canada and Mexico? Why didn't we incentivize them to build them here then? So now I think we're backing into it. We have these international companies that we want to make residents.
Well, some of it is like, the globalization, right, of our world. And right, so we've got allies and we've got alliances, and we invest in your country and you invest in our country, right? That's kind of how it's all happened. Is it bad if we kind of back off of all of that, in your view?
I don't know if we're backing off on all of that. Is understanding that in a post-COVID world, every country's in a different economic place today. Mm-hmm. It's a different, we're talking about environment. Yeah. There's a very different environment. Now, America's operating at a significant deficit with significant debt. We have to fix this. The world knows we have to fix it. The world doesn't want us to cave in. We're the largest marketplace in the world.
Right.
So it seems to me that the world has to accept that these changes have to be made to eliminate the deficits that we all have to make us all healthy. So can we do this together in a constructive way? That's what remains to be seen to me.
What about in your world, at the bar world, where tariffs could affect the liquor market, Mexican tequila, whiskey coming from Canada?
That concerns me. But, you know, that Mexican tequila needs to compete, you know, with other brands and other products. I don't have to sell as much tequila. I can move my menu and sell more bourbon. So you know, we do have options in the industry. And I think that the marketplace is a challenge. The liquor industry is in the toilet right now.
Yeah.
So the marketplace is a challenge for them. I think they need to be aggressive, and I don't think they're going to allow a tariff to take them down.
Yeah, increasingly, and just there's a lot of interesting dynamics going on in the liquor industry.
I'm not saying I know this to be a fact, but this is just how I feel because I think time will tell on this.
In terms of policies, you talked about, you know, a shortage of workers. In terms of immigration, and I know there's illegal versus legal, but we know the hospitality industry got really hurt, you know, after the pandemic. A lot of people left that industry, found better jobs, better paying jobs. What's your view on immigration?
Well, I think legal immigration is important, but I think we need immigrants to come here. First of all, I don't want to hire somebody who I can't do a background check on. I can't do that. There's too much liability today, especially in the hotel industry. So I have to hire people that I can do background checks on, that I can have confidence in hiring them, that they're safe, they're not thieves, my employees are safe, etc. And right now we don't have that. So when I look at the immigrants, illegal immigrants that have come across that I can't track their background, they're of no value to me.
Interesting.
I'm not sure they're of much value to America if we can't track their backgrounds.
I would say that someone might push back and say, well, if there's fewer people to do the labor that illegal immigrants do right now, that might pull from your labor force of legal immigrants working at restaurants and then cause your cost to go higher.
Well, I didn't use the term. I'm trying to focus on criminals. There are illegal immigrants that do have backgrounds, and you can verify who they are. I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with the criminals or the people whose backgrounds we can't check. The ones that have gang tattoos, etc. They're of no use to the hospitality industry. So that doesn't solve our problem. The good ones do. The ones that have backgrounds, that came here with good intentions.
So you're just saying whoever comes in, like, you've got to make sure you understand exactly
I think so.
who it is.
We have to understand that people that come here with good intentions could be valuable contributors to our society.
20 seconds, tune in. What is that about? Real quick.
You know, I'm doing a small business radio show. You know, with all my experience in dealing with failure and the things I have, new entrepreneurs, I want to talk to them. You know, future entrepreneurs, I want to talk to them. Absolutely.
Okay?
Jon Taffer, slow your roll.
Come
Wait,
on.
you know,
help
this is
out.
what
So
we do.
It's a way for, well, you guys are doing it in a little more sophisticated. I want to really help those small entrepreneurs, those people starting out, and those family businesses.
There's so many out there.
There are.
Jon Taffer, congratulations on a 10th season. So appreciate you coming in. Of course,
Great
the
to
host
see
and
you both.
executive producer of Bar Rescue. This is Bloomberg.